On to part 2 of the Metacognition Lab. It's going to use this sheet that you got to print out separately. And basically what you have with this sheet are steps in problem solving. So that it's kind of starts with an overall approach and then it kind of works you through, how you do it and how you figure out whether you're getting a good answer and what your answers eventually look like and what it looks like to somebody else. And the rules are on the sheet, so I'm going to go through pretty quickly. For each column, there's 4 choices. You look at the 4 choices, pick the one that describes you the best. That gets a 4. Describe the one that gets you the least is a 1, and you got to get a second worst for a 2 and a second best for a 3. So every column is going to have a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 in it. So first column, somewhere a 4, somewhere a 3, somewhere a 2, somewhere a 1. Second column, again. Once you get all of these 10 columns, you add them across to put a number there and there and there and there, and then just bring the number down. And that'll tell you what groups are assigned to each one. You've got CS, which is concrete sequential, AS abstract random, AR abstract sequential, abstract. Basically, okay, you've got concrete or abstract. Concrete's very factually oriented, abstract's very emotionally oriented. The other two are sequential versus random. Sequential is very step by step oriented. Random is very kind of imaginative, jump around a little bit oriented. Most people are some combination of those when they're problem solving. And once you go back to the lab, answer the questions about the numbers, and take a look at the second sheet. Now pick the column that is your high number and go down and see if it sounds like you. Pick the number or the column with your low number, go down and see if it doesn't sound like you. And that's how you're going to answer the other questions that are actually in the lab. So I'm going to ask you questions about distribution. Is that the people that do this think that a balanced approach is good, so everybody should get numbers that are 27 or less. People don't generally do that. If you get one number over 27, that's the most common thing. If you get 2, that's not unusual, but usually those 2 share one of the letters. Otherwise, you're kind of fighting yourself. That's what I get when I do it, is kind of self-opposed. And then you just get a question of, do you think this really describes you? Some people do this and go, wow, this really hit me on the nose. And some people go, I don't really think that this does well at all. And it's your opinion, so whatever you want to answer is fine. So that's pretty quick. It'll take you a while to do it, but it's not going to take me a long time to describe it. The same thing's going to be true with part 3, where you have a brain full of information. How to get in there. Came in through your senses, came in through your eyes and your ears and your touch and your taste and your smell, and then your brain stores it as brain stuff. But it turns out that every brain doesn't store and retrieve every sense equally well. Like I'm a visual retriever. I don't do well with sounds, which makes me a really good speller because I see the words as pictures, so it's really easy to see when a word's misspelled. If you're a sound-oriented person and you hear the words, then maybe your spelling's not so good because you don't really have a good visual connection to the words. You have a good sound connection to the words. When I take a foreign language, I took Russian. I learned pretty quickly how to read the Cyrillic alphabet. I got so that I could read it fairly well. I never got comfortable hearing it. Is that because my ability to translate the sounds into the words wasn't as good as it should be. And that's what we're looking at here. Different abilities with different senses give you certain areas that you're going to be you're going to learn easy from, and certain areas you're not going to learn easy from. So for part 3, this is how this works. You're going to go sense by sense by sense by sense, and there's a lot of them. And for each one, I'll take the first one, which is this first grouping is sight. It says tail side of a nickel. So you say brain, I need to see the tail side of a nickel. And your brain goes, okay, boss, there it is. Now the question is, how close is that to a real nickel being there? If you can see all the details that's on the tail side of a nickel from your memory, just like it was a real nickel there, then you're gonna rate it a 5. A 5 is like reality. And a 1 is like, it's a gray coin, it's not a dime, not really sure what's on the tail side, not really sure what words are there. Here it is. So a 1 is a very weak memory, and a 5 is kind of a perfect memory. And you're gonna rank every line separately. We're no longer putting, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in each group. Is every line gets ranked by itself with a number. 1, a really weak memory of it. 5, just like reality, somewhere in between. I tried to pick stuff that everybody would have experience with. Typically, that happens. Is it, for the second group, you're trying to hear the lead into a song you used to like. So the music that plays before people start singing is the lead in. And pick a song you haven't heard for a while and try to replay it in your head. And try to figure out how close is that memory to if you were really listening to it again. Again, perfect 5 down to 1. You're gonna do that for every group. You're gonna do smells, retrieve smells from your head. How close to a re-experiencing of the smell can you get? You're gonna do it with taste. Can you recreate a taste? With touch, can you recreate the feeling of something? With balance, can you recreate things that are connected to your balance sense? Can you re-feel a temperature, a warm or cold sensation? Can you re-experience a pain? Can you recreate the actual pain experience out of your head? Then the last page of this section, you're gonna add up your 5 numbers for each group and divide by 5. That will give you an average. We're ranking 1 through 5. The average hangs on to that 1 through 5 ranking. That's why we're doing the math manipulation. So add it up, divide by 5. If you keep getting the same number, then you carried over the rules from the last part and put a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in every group. You're not supposed to do that. And it'd be really weird if you did that for every group and you knew that wasn't the rule. So if you keep getting like 3, then you did it wrong. Then on the last page, take and rank them from your highest average to your lowest average. So give me the average score, work your way down, and then the sense, write out the sense that you have. And if you get a tie, just kind of gut check to break the tie. You get 2 things tied at 3rd place, think about it, go, this was a little stronger, I'm gonna put a little bit higher than the other one. Put that in 3rd place, that in 4th place, don't change the average. But that's the way that you put the list together. And then you get some questions. Of course, all of your senses are not at play in a typical classroom. Usually you're shown things and you hear things, and in a lab you touch things. But other than that, you don't really use your other senses. And so your first question is about, of those 3 senses that actually apply, which one from your rankings should work the best for you? And then the next question is that true? Little side note, I first ran into the concept of this test. It wasn't really a test for what we're testing, but it gave me the idea. It was a test for mental illness, but it was 100 years old. And there was a theory, nobody believes this anymore. It was a theory that people who remembered senses that the psychiatrist or whatever they were considered animalistic, that if they remembered those better than what they considered humanistic, then there was something wrong with them. You can take a look at your ranking list and tell me what you got. Animalistic senses were considered smell, taste, and pain. So if you look at your ranking list and you got smell, taste, or pain close to the top, probably 1st or 2nd spot, then 100 years ago, you might have had trouble with that test. They might have gone, oh, you're not completely right in the head. Whereas sound, touch, and sight were considered the humanistic senses. They didn't have the other ones on that particular test. It was just those 6. But as I said, nobody believes that anymore. Okay, I'm going to stop here. So we did part 2 and part 3. The next video will be part 4.